Hey guys, Lesley here. Hope your week's been fabulous. I've had a great week. I've had a great couple of weeks actually. Through this time I've had wonderful opportunities to work with people one-on-one more so than I normally would. So there's a lot more people that I'm working with one-on-one through the awesome Boobs on the Run family that I normally wouldn't work with on a one-on-one basis. They'd be part of a group. And so it's been fabulous to have some great conversations, and really a common theme that has come up has all surrounded pacing. And pacing is quite an interesting area, potentially a bit contentious. And g'day Susan, so fabulous to see you, and g'day Jax. So pacing, it can either be the joy of your run or the bane of your existence sometimes, and that can come down a little bit to our attitude. But I'm not really going to talk about too much about that tonight. I'm just going to sort of talk a little bit about my pacing philosophy and how, when I'm running with people on a one-on-one basis, the kind of things that I talk about. So firstly, just want to say that each and every run that you do, whether you're on a plan or not, it has a pace purpose or a pace goal. Not necessarily wanting to use the word goal in there as such, because it implies that it's right or wrong, but there's a pace purpose. For the vast majority of people, the vast majority of your running, so i.e. 80% of your running, is really designed to be done at what I call, and those of you that have run with me before know that it is what I do, it's all about the chatty pace. And so what's that? Chatty pace for me, and what I teach other people about chatty pace, is the pace in which you could run the whole time and have a conversation, pretty much. So we could just talk the whole way through, and all of a sudden, bam, the run is done. So that's the kind of intensity that is a chatty pace. And so 80% of your runs should be done at that pace. So if we were to break pace down a little, there are two elements to it, in my opinion. The first is the numbers, so i.e. your speed that you're running at, the numbers on the watch, the number side. The second element of pace is the feeling side, i.e. The intensity, or what's often termed PRE, which is perceived rate of exertion. So there's the numbers and then there's the feeling. And so the feeling and that rate of exertion, so a 5 out of 10 should always feel like a 5 out of 10. But those numbers within that feeling can vary from run to run and over time, or from day to day. So this is the thing, right? The numbers can be scary. They can put us off. But the feeling doesn't change. And when we focus on the feeling, and we focus more on this second element, it actually reminds us that regardless of how fast, and inverted commas, regardless of how fast we run, and g'day Lynn, great to see you here too. So regardless of how fast we run, that feeling at different levels of exertion is the same for everyone. So the thing out of that is, right, we all hurt. We're all coming through the finish line at race pace, hurting, right? It's all hard. We might come through it at different speeds, at different paces, but it feels the same. Oh, thanks for your comment, Susan. It's really important, right? Because we can get so hung up in the numbers. And when we focus on the feeling, it reminds us that we are all the same, regardless of how fast we run. The other element behind that is it reminds us that comparison is the absolute thief of joy. And a lot of you would have heard me say this a lot, but comparing how fast someone else is going and is not going to make your run go faster. A little bit of a chuckle there from my point of view. It's not going to make it go faster. It's not going to make it feel better. And let's face it, we run because it brings us some element of joy, right? And if we get stuck in a space where we're so concerned about the numbers that it sucks the joy out of everything, like what's the purpose, right? So we've got to come back to joy. Hey, Janie's online now. Awesome. Great to see you. So, I really want to also thank those of you that filled out some comments on my post, because it was so insightful to know where you guys are at. It also confirmed a few things, because what I want to say is that a lot of the stuff that came out in the post are the same things that I've been same conversations I've been having with people for the last 2-3 weeks. So what you're feeling is absolutely normal. Don't feel like you're stupid to feel it, because you're not. And don't feel like you're the only one feeling it, okay? Because I'm sure there would be some of you that didn't post a comment but read other people's comments and said, yep, I agree with that, so I'm just kind of not going to say anything, but that's entirely my thought process. So give me a wave if you were one of those people in the comments, which is kind of cool. Okay, so now that we've gone through all of the elements of not comparing feeling versus the numbers, I want to just talk to you about a little analogy. And those of you that have run with me know that I love a good analogy when I'm out running. And I want to use my favorite one for pacing. And my favorite one for pacing is to liken our perceived rates of exertion, our PREs, likening them to gears on a car. So say our 5 out of 10, something that feels like a 5 out of 10 effort. So this is our chatty pace. It should feel like a 5 out of 10 effort. So say this was your first gear of a car, right? And then we're going up 5th gear, 6th gear, 7th gear, 8th gear, right? It goes up. Or we could say first gear, 2nd gear, 3rd gear, whichever way it works for you, however you want to look at it. So we can start in 5th gear, or we can start in 1st gear and go up. For those of you that have driven a manual, it will totally make sense to start in 1st gear, but remember that 1st gear is 5 out of 10, not 1 out of 10, okay? Because we don't have 10 gears, we're not a truck. Yes, I laugh at my own jokes, and I do that when I'm running. Anyway, but when we're driving a manual, we wouldn't go straight from 1st gear to 6th gear, right? You just wouldn't, like, it's physically, you can't. If you're driving in 1st, and then if you shove it into 6th gear, what does the car do? Not really much. You're likely to stall it, right? So if we think of that as our personal engine, we could stall our own personal engine, our own personal energy. Okay? The other thing too is that we go up the gears and down the gears gently, don't we? So we go from 1st to 2nd to 3rd. Sometimes we can skip between a couple when we start to learn how to drive a bit better. But the one thing I'll say here, you would not expect a learner driver to know instinctively how to go up and down the gears. There would be a lot of mistakes made along the way. So for those of you in your running journey that don't quite understand your personal gears with your PRE, please don't be too hard on yourself. It's something that comes with time, right? And so for those that are saying, yeah, but I've been running a while and I still don't really know, it's still not quite right, I'm like, well, that's okay too, right? Because even those of us that drive a manual every day, we don't know the gears of a car the way a professional race car driver does either. And even race car drivers, every time there's a new season, they need to practice those gears. So it's a constant learning process for us. So there's being a little bit at peace with the fact that understanding our pace is a learning process is kind of important. Because, again, if we're a bit too hard on ourselves about this, it sucks a bit of the joy out of it. And as Jax, as you commented, it's all about the joy. It's all about seeking the joy. So that's that element of it. Now, there are going to be times when you get to a portion of your training plan or your run journey when it is all about going hard or going home. Okay, but there's a time and a season for that. It's not something that's sustainable long term, because otherwise you're just going to get injured. You're going to lose the joy. What else? So if any of you have any questions, pop them in the comments, because I'm seeing them come up so I can answer them. Because in general, there's so much I could say about pacing. But overarching, your pacing is something that is yours. It's no one else's. It's about what is your 5 out of 10? What is your 6 out of 10? What is your 7 out of 10? 8 out of 10? 9 out of 10? And practicing going up and down the gears and understanding, as I'd posted before, that when you're practicing going up and down the gears, there may be moments you stall the car. But again, for those of you with kiddos that you're teaching to drive, etc., you don't say, oh, you stalled the car, don't try it again. No, it's like, you're going to get it. You encourage practice. So have that thought process with yourself, okay? I'm not seeing any questions come through, so I'm going to sign off. Just remember, comparison is a thief of joy, and little analogies, life's better with them. Thanks.